When I look back now, I still remember the exact moment my life cracked open. It was a quiet evening, the kind of evening where the house feels too still, where even the ticking clock sounds louder than it should. I was sitting by the window, holding a cup of warm tea that had slowly gone cold in my hands. I kept thinking about her, about the woman I trusted more than anyone else, the woman I thought loved me in a way no one else ever could. For 15 long years I believed her. I believed her smile, her words, her silence, her promises that everything she did was for my good. But when the truth finally came out, it did not arrive with shouting or chaos. It came with a soft voice, a trembling breath, a single sentence that changed everything I knew about my past, my relationships, and even myself. I still hear her voice sometimes, like an echo. "I never meant to hurt you, but I hid something from you." People think pain comes from big events, from loud fights, from dramatic exits. But the deepest pain, the kind that touches your bones, often comes in silence. It comes when you realize someone you trusted was living behind a curtain, and you never saw what was on the other side. That night, as the truth unfolded, I felt something inside me shift, not anger, not rage, just a slow, heavy sadness. A sadness that made me question every moment we shared, every smile, every "I'm proud of you." Every time she held my hand and told me she cared. That's why I'm telling this story. Not to blame her, not to make anyone the villain, but because holding this inside would destroy me slowly. Because stories, when spoken out loud, have a way of freeing us, piece by piece, and maybe my story will help someone else who trusted too deeply, who loved too blindly, who ignored their own doubts for far too long. So this is the beginning of the truth she hid for 15 years. A truth that reshaped everything. And before I tell you what she hid, I need to tell you who she was to me, and why her silence carried so much weight. Because you cannot understand the pain of a secret until you understand the love that was broken by it. To understand why her secret cut so deeply, you need to know who she was in my life. Her name was Maya, and for many years if someone had asked me who I trusted the most, I would have said her name without hesitation. I met Maya when I was in one of the most vulnerable stages of my life. I had just lost my mother, and the world felt heavy in a way words can never fully describe. Losing a parent changes something inside you, not just the rhythm of your days, but the shape of your heart. You suddenly realize how fragile love is, how quickly it can disappear, and how desperately you cling to anything that feels warm, familiar, or kind. Maya appeared in my life during that time, not with grand gestures or dramatic comfort, just with presence. She had a way of sitting beside me without saying much, only offering a soft, understanding smile. It was the kind of smile that made you feel seen, even when you felt invisible. We became close slowly, the way people do when life pushes them toward each other. I never expected her to become such a significant part of my world, but she did. Little by little, she helped me through the days when grief made it hard to breathe, she reminded me to eat when I forgot. She listened when I said things I wasn't proud of, and she held on to my secrets with gentle hands. Sometimes I wondered how she always knew what to say, or what to avoid. She seemed to read my silence better than anyone who had known me for years. One rainy afternoon, as we sat together in a small cafe, she told me, "You don't have to be strong all the time, not with me." At that moment, something in me softened. It felt safe, comfortable, almost like home. Our bond deepened not through romance or grand titles. It was something quieter, something steadier, a kind of emotional dependence I didn't even realize I was building until much later. People around us often assumed we were more than friends, but it never bothered me. If anything, it made me feel special that others could see how close we were. She wasn't just another person in my life. She was someone my heart leaned on. Over the years, I introduced her to my family, my friends, and the people who mattered to me. Everyone liked her, maybe even more than they liked me. She had that effect on people. She knew how to speak softly, how to make people feel important, how to listen without judging. My sister once said, "Hold on to her. People like Maya don't come around often." I didn't know how true those words would become. Back then, I believed Maya was honest with me. I believed she shared everything that mattered. We had long conversations about life, dreams, and fears. She told me about her childhood, her ambitions, and her regrets. Or at least she told me what she wanted me to know. There were moments when she would go quiet suddenly, as if something inside her had shifted. Moments when she looked like she wanted to say something but held it back at the last second. But I never pressed her. I respected her silence because she respected mine. "What if I disappoint you someday?" she once asked. I laughed lightly and told her, "You won't, even if you tried." Those words would come back to me years later, heavy and painful, because disappointment doesn't always come from someone trying to hurt you. Sometimes it comes from someone trying too hard to protect themselves. As the years passed, our relationship settled into a pattern. Regular phone calls, shared meals, late-night messages, moments that felt small at the time but built a deep connection over the years. Every birthday, she was the first to show up. Every celebration, she stood by my side. Every time I fell, she was the one who helped me stand again. She wasn't perfect, of course. No one is. She had days when she pulled away, days when her voice sounded distant, days when she seemed lost in thought. But I always assumed it was stress or pressure or something she was dealing with privately. I trusted that when she was ready, she would tell me what was wrong. I didn't know then that secrets can grow like weeds, quietly, slowly, unseen, and by the time you notice them, they've already taken root. Still, looking back, there were signs. Small, subtle signs that something wasn't right. There were nights when she canceled our plans last minute without explanation. Times when she avoided certain topics carefully, almost too carefully. Moments when she changed the subject whenever I mentioned my past or her past, or anything that brushed too close to something she didn't want to reveal. But love, even the platonic kind, can blind you. It makes you excuse things you shouldn't. It makes you fill in missing pieces with trust instead of questions. I believed everything she told me because I wanted to believe it, because the truth, the real truth, was something I couldn't have even imagined back then. If someone had told me that the person I trusted most was hiding something for 15 years, I would have laughed. I would have defended her. I would have insisted that she would never do such a thing. But that's the thing about secrets. They don't care how much love exists. They don't care how much trust has been built. They only care about the moment they finally come out. And when they do, everything changes. Before her secret came to light, our lives were deeply intertwined, not in dramatic ways, but in the quiet, everyday threads that form the fabric of closeness. She knew what foods I liked, which songs made me emotional, which memories still hurt me. She understood the way I avoided conflict, the way I struggled with goodbyes, the way I carried guilt for things that weren't my fault. Sometimes she would tell me, "You deserve someone who tells you the truth." I would smile, thinking she meant other people. I never once thought she meant herself. But now, when I look back, those lines feel different. They feel like hints, like confessions wrapped inside casual sentences. People often imagine emotional stories as storms that come suddenly. But mine began with soft clouds, slow winds, and a quiet shift in the sky. At the time, everything looked normal, peaceful even. I did not know that the foundation of our bond had a crack in it. A crack she hoped I would never see. If I had known, maybe I would have asked more questions. Maybe I would have listened more carefully. Maybe I would have prepared myself for the day the truth would finally spill out. But the truth doesn't wait for the right moment. It comes when it decides the time is right. And that time was getting close. Life has a strange way of revealing cracks only when you step back far enough to see the full picture. At the time, I didn't realize anything was breaking. I thought things were steady, comfortable, predictable. But comfort can be blinding, and what I mistook for stability was actually silence. Thick, heavy silence, hiding all the things Maya never wanted me to discover. The first shift came gently. We had always been close, but suddenly Maya began to pull away. Not dramatically, not in a way that made me panic. It was subtle, like a door that wasn't fully closed but not fully open either. She started canceling our usual meetings, first once a week, then twice, then without explanation. At first, I brushed it off. She had work, she was tired. Life was stressing her out. Everyone goes through phases like that. "Are you okay?" I asked her one evening, after she canceled again. "I'm fine," she said softly. Too softly, her voice felt like it was holding something at the back of it. "Are you sure?" "Yes, just a little overwhelmed." I didn't want to push. Maya was the kind of person who opened up only when she felt safe. If I pressed, she would retreat even more. So I simply said, "I'm here, whenever you want to talk." She nodded and the conversation drifted away, but her silence lingered long after. Over the next few months, small things kept adding up. When we talked, she sounded distracted, as if her mind was somewhere else. Sometimes she would stare at me for a few seconds too long, almost like she was searching my face for something. Other times, she avoided looking at me at all. I began to sense tension, but I couldn't understand it. I would replay our conversations in my head, wondering if I had said something to upset her, but nothing made sense. One day, I noticed she avoided a question about her family. She had mentioned someone, her cousin, I think, and when I asked about them, she immediately changed the subject. "Maya," I said gently, "you're acting different. What's wrong?" "Nothing," she repeated. Her smile was tight, forced, the kind of smile someone wears when they're holding a door shut behind them. I didn't know it then, but that door was holding back a truth she'd buried deeply, a truth connected not just to her, but to me. The second shift happened unexpectedly. It was a warm evening, and we had decided to take a walk near the old riverbank. It was one of our favorite places, quiet, peaceful, a little forgotten by the rest of the world. The sun was setting, and the sky had that soft golden glow that makes everything feel gentle. We walked beside each other, not talking much, just listening to the water. And then she said my name softly, too softly. "I need to tell you something someday," she murmured, eyes fixed on the water. "Someday?" I tried to smile. "Why not now?" "Because I'm not ready yet." Her voice trembled. Not enough for someone else to notice, but enough for me to feel a spark of worry. "Maya, whatever it is, you can tell me." She shook her head. "Not yet, but I will, I promise." I wanted to ask more. I wanted to understand, but she looked so fragile in that moment, like a person standing at the edge of a confession and fighting the fear of falling. So I let it go, but her words stayed with me. Someday soon, someday later, someday when things were better or worse. I didn't know. As the weeks passed, I felt her drifting even further away. It wasn't a sudden distance, it was gradual, like sand slipping between fingers. Our daily texts became every other day, then once a week, then only when I messaged first. When she did reply, her messages felt shorter, less expressive, as if she was trying not to share too much. One night, after she had ignored my message for hours, she finally responded, "Sorry, busy, just two words from a person who used to write paragraphs." That night, I sat on my bed staring at my phone, wondering what I had done, wondering what she was hiding, wondering why someone who had once been the closest to me was now building walls. I typed and deleted several messages before finally sending, "I hope you're okay. I'm here if you need anything." She replied with a simple, "Thank you." Nothing more. That's when I felt the first real ache. Not heartbreak, just a dull, heavy ache of being shut out without knowing why. The third shift was harder to ignore. Maya began avoiding my family. She had always been close to them, especially my sister, who adored her. But suddenly she stopped attending dinners, gatherings, even small events she used to enjoy. My sister asked one afternoon, "Is Maya mad at us?" "No," I said, though I wasn't sure. "She's just going through something." "What something?" I had no answer. A few days later, my father asked, "Everything all right with her?" "She doesn't visit anymore." Again, I had no explanation, and the fact that I couldn't explain only deepened the worry inside me. In quiet moments, I would catch myself thinking about all the things she might be hiding: illness, family problems, financial stress. But nothing matched the way she acted, the way she looked at me with eyes full of something unspoken. I asked her directly one evening, "Have I done something?" "No," she said quickly, "you haven't done anything." "Then why are you pulling away?" "I'm not pulling away." "Maya," she looked at me then, a long, painful look, and said, "I just need space." "Space from me?" My voice shook before I could control it. "Not from you," she whispered, "from everything." But I didn't believe her, not completely, and that scared me because trust had never been a problem between us. Until then, the fourth shift came like a whisper, but it shook me. I found a letter in her handwriting. It wasn't addressed to me. It was tucked inside a book I had borrowed from her months earlier, completely by accident. The envelope was sealed, but my name was written faintly on the back, almost as if she wrote it then changed her mind and erased it with fingers instead of an eraser. I stared at the letter for several minutes, heart beating fast. Should I open it? Should I leave it untouched? It felt wrong to invade her privacy, but it also felt wrong that she had written a letter to me and hidden it away. My fingers trembled as I held the envelope. In the end, I didn't open it. I slid it back into the book, closed the pages gently, put the book back where I found it, but that letter haunted me. What had she wanted to tell me? Why had she written something she couldn't say out loud? Why my name? Why now? The biggest shift, the one that finally made me realize something serious was happening, occurred on a quiet evening. I had gone to see her, not announced, not planned. I just needed to see her. When I arrived at her place, she looked startled, almost frightened. "What are you doing here?" she asked, stepping outside before I could enter. "I wanted to check on you. You shouldn't have come." Her voice was sharp, not angry, afraid. "Maya," I said slowly, "what's going on?" She looked around nervously. as if expecting someone to appear. Then she whispered, "Please, go home. Why? Talk to me. I can't or won't." She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, tears were forming. "I'm sorry," she said, and then she stepped back and closed the door, not gently, not with hesitation, but firmly, as if shutting me out was the only way to keep herself together. I stood there in the hallway, staring at the closed door, feeling like the ground beneath me had shifted. That night, I realized something was badly wrong. This wasn't stress. This wasn't distance. This wasn't mood. This was a secret, a big one. A secret heavy enough to make her push me away, avoid my family, hide her emotions, and cry as she closed the door on me. And I knew the truth was coming. Maybe not that day, maybe not that week, but soon, because secrets can't stay buried forever, not when they begin to break the person hiding them. Over the next few days, I tried to give her space. I texted less, I waited for her to reach out, but she didn't, not once. Silence became her shield, and the more silent she became, the more unsettled I felt. I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking about her, wondering what she was going through, wondering why she felt she had to face it alone. I prayed she would talk to me, explain, confess, anything. But days turned into weeks and her distance only grew. The person I knew was slipping away, the bond we shared was weakening, the trust we built was cracking, and behind all of it was something I still didn't know, the truth she had hidden for 15 years, a truth tied to my past, to my family, to something I had never questioned. That truth was approaching, slowly, quietly, unavoidably, and soon, very soon, it would finally come out. The truth didn't arrive with thunder. It came on a quiet morning, one of those mornings when the sun feels softer than usual and the air carries an unfamiliar heaviness. I remember waking up early. Something inside me felt unsettled, like my heart was waiting for something it couldn't name. I made tea, sat near the window, and watched the sky brighten. But even the sunlight felt strange that day, as if the world was preparing me for something I wasn't ready to face. Around 9 a.m., my phone vibrated. It was a message from Maya. After weeks of silence, my breath caught in my throat. For a moment, I couldn't bring myself to open it. When I finally did, all it said was, "Can we meet today? Please." Just 5 words, but those 5 words carried 15 years of weight. I replied instantly, "Tell me where." She sent the address of a small, quiet park, the one near her childhood home. We had only been there once before, years ago. She told me then that she used to go there when she needed to think. Seeing that location again made my hands tremble. Something was coming, something big. I reached the park earlier than expected. The morning breeze rustled the leaves gently. Kids were playing far away. A man sat on a bench reading a newspaper. Everything looked normal, peaceful, except the tightness in my chest. I sat on a bench beneath an old tree, waiting. When Maya arrived, I knew instantly that something had changed. She looked different, not physically but emotionally. Her eyes seemed tired, heavy with something she had carried for too long. She walked slowly toward me, her hands trembling slightly. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi." My voice felt smaller than usual. She sat down beside me but left a small space between us, the kind of space that comes not from distance but from fear. "I'm sorry for everything," she began, staring straight ahead. "I never wanted to hurt you." "You didn't hurt me," I replied gently. "I just want to understand." She exhaled shakily, as if she had been holding her breath for years. "You will, but what I'm about to tell you, it's not easy, and I don't know how you'll look at me after you hear it." "Maya," I said softly, "nothing will change how I care about you." She finally turned to look at me. "Everything will change," she whispered. Those words, they felt like a door creaking open after years of being locked. She began slowly, so slowly I could hear her heartbeat in every pause. 15 years ago," she said, "your life changed in a way you never knew, and it was because of me." My entire body stiffened. "What do you mean?" She closed her eyes for a moment, gathering strength. "You remember the accident, the one your family always said was fate?" My stomach tightened. "My mother's accident?" I whispered. She nodded gently. "Yes." A cold wave washed over me. I had lost my mother in a road accident 15 years ago. There was never much explanation, just that she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, a tragedy, a moment of fate. "What about it?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Maya swallowed slowly, her lips trembling. "It wasn't fate," she whispered. "It wasn't random. It wasn't what you were told." My breath caught. "What are you saying?" She hesitated, then forced out the words, "I was there." For a moment everything inside me went silent, the sounds of the park faded, the breeze disappeared, even the sunlight felt dim. You were there?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "Yes. How? Why?" She hugged her arms around herself like she was cold. "My father, he was driving, I was with him, we were in the car that—" Her voice broke. "That hit your mother." My mind went blank. A ringing sound echoed through my ears, sharp, loud, merciless. I stared at her, unable to breathe. Your father?" She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "He didn't see her, it was raining heavily. The road was slippery, he tried to stop, he tried so hard. It wasn't on purpose. My chest felt like it was caving in, and all these years," I whispered. "You knew?" She covered her face with her hands. I knew from the first day I met you. I recognized your name, your story, your grief, and I wanted to tell you, I wanted to so many times." "Then why didn't you?" My voice cracked under the weight of betrayal. She lowered her hands slowly, her eyes red and swollen. "Because I was scared," she whispered. "I was 14. I thought your family would hate us. I thought my father would go to jail. I thought you'd hate me. I thought I didn't deserve to be near you." Her voice collapsed into silence. I felt like I was floating outside my own body, looking at the scene from far away. The woman who comforted me through my grief. The woman who stayed by my side for years. The woman I trusted more than anyone. She had been carrying the truth behind the greatest pain of my life, and I had never seen it. The world felt blurry. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, trying to breathe through the shock. She sat quietly, letting me absorb the truth. After several minutes, she whispered, "I never meant to enter your life. I didn't plan any of it. I didn't even speak to you the first time we met. But when I saw how kind you were, how gentle, how broken, I couldn't walk away." I stared at the ground, trying to calm the chaos in my mind. "I thought you were my safe place," I whispered. "I tried to be," she said, choking on her tears, "and maybe that was selfish, because every day I stayed in your life, the truth became heavier, and the closer we got, the harder it became for me to tell you." Her voice softened. "I loved you. Not in a romantic way, but in the way someone loves the person who saved them from becoming a worse version of themselves." Her words pierced me. "You should have told me," I said, my voice trembling. "I know," she whispered. "Every year I told myself, this is the year I'll tell him. But every year I lost the courage, and then I started pulling away because I knew the truth couldn't stay hidden forever." I looked at her, and for the first time in my life, I saw her differently. Not the calm, quiet, steady presence she had always been, but a person carrying a secret so heavy it nearly crushed her. "And your father?" I asked quietly. "Does he know you told me?" She shook her head. "He doesn't know I'm here. He doesn't know I reached out, but he's lived with guilt for 15 years too. He has never been the same." "And you? What about your guilt?" She looked at me with eyes filled with pain. "My guilt lived in every moment I shared with you," she whispered. "Every smile, every hug, every word. I wanted to comfort you, but I also knew I was part of the reason you had that pain in the first place." My heart twisted. Anger rose in me, sadness rose in me, confusion rose in me, but louder than all of them was the ache of betrayal. "You should have trusted me enough to tell me," I said softly. "I know," she whispered again, voice trembling. "I know, and I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for everything." Tears streamed down her cheeks, her hands shook, she looked like she was breaking in front of me. "I didn't come to ask for forgiveness," she said. "I came because I couldn't carry the secret anymore. I came because you deserve the truth, even if it destroys everything we ever had." I closed my eyes, letting her words sink deep into the quiet places of my heart. For 15 years she had hidden this from me. For 15 years she had been both my comfort and the keeper of the very thing that shattered my life. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know if I should walk away or hold her hand or cry or scream. All I knew was this: nothing would ever be the same again. After a long silence, I whispered the only question that mattered: "Why now?" Maya wiped her tears slowly. "Because I couldn't watch you blame yourself for things you never did. Because you deserve to heal fully. Because you deserve clarity. And because—" she took a shaky breath, "because I couldn't live with the fear of losing you anymore. I would rather tell you the truth and lose you honestly than keep the secret and lose you slowly." Her honesty felt like a knife, sharp, painful, deep. "I don't know what to do with this," I confessed. I know, she whispered. The wind rustled the leaves above us. Children laughed in the distance. Life went on, indifferent to the storm unraveling inside me. Maya looked at me like she was, memorizing my face for the last time. Then she whispered, I understand if this is goodbye. Those words broke something inside me, because I didn't want to say goodbye, but I also didn't know how to stay. That was the moment everything shifted. The moment the truth she hid for 15 years changed the shape of our lives forever. I don't remember much about the minutes after she told me the truth. I remember the air feeling heavy. I remember my hands going cold. I remember her voice trembling, then fading into silence. But my thoughts were a blur of grief, confusion, and disbelief. My mother had died on a rainy evening 15 years ago. I spent years believing fate had taken her. Now fate had a name. And it was tied to the person I trusted most. Maya sat beside me, still and quiet, watching me with eyes full of fear and love and guilt. But I couldn't look at her. I needed air, I needed space, I needed time, so I stood up. She stood too, instantly. Are you leaving? She whispered. I don't know, I said honestly. It was the silence that hurt the most. One evening, my sister noticed my restlessness. You're quieter than usual, she said gently. I tried to smile. Just tired. She didn't believe me. You know you can talk to me, right? Her voice was warm, inviting, but I wasn't ready yet. How could I explain something so heavy when I barely understood it myself? Instead, I said, I will someday. She nodded and placed her hand on mine. Whenever you're ready. I didn't realize it then, but those words would echo in my mind for days. Whenever you're ready. Was I ready to face the truth? Was I ready to forgive? Was I ready to let go of the anger? I didn't know, but I knew I couldn't keep carrying this alone. 3 days later, I went to visit my mother's grave. I hadn't been there in months, maybe because I didn't know how to talk to her anymore. Not after learning the truth. The cemetery was quiet, and the wind carried the smell of damp grass. I knelt beside her headstone, placed my hands on the cool marble and closed my eyes. Mom, I whispered, I found out something I never expected. My words cracked slightly. It changes everything, but it also changes nothing. You're still gone. I still miss you every day. The air felt still around me, as if the world was listening. I don't know what to do, I continued. I don't know if I should forgive her or walk away. All I know is she cared about me, really cared, and that makes everything more complicated. A tear slid down my cheek. I wish you were here. I wish you could tell me what to do. Of course, there was only silence in return, but saying the words out loud helped. For the first time since hearing the truth, my thoughts stopped spinning. A small part of me began to understand that the past couldn't be undone, no matter how many answers I searched for. The real question wasn't whether the truth hurt. It was what I would do with that pain. The next day, I made a decision. Not forgiveness, not closure, not acceptance. Just a decision to talk, to face her again. Not as the woman who betrayed me, but as the person who carried guilt for 15 years. I sent her a message. Can we meet? She replied instantly. Yes, anytime, anywhere. I chose a quiet cafe far from where we usually met. I didn't want memories to interfere. I didn't want comfort to soften what needed to be said. When she arrived, she looked fragile. Her eyes were tired, her face pale, her hands trembling slightly as she held her bag. She didn't sit down immediately. She stood across from me as if waiting for permission. You can sit, I said softly. She lowered herself into the chair carefully, like sitting on a fragile hope. I didn't think you'd call, she whispered. I didn't think I would either, I admitted. Silence hung between us, not sharp or angry, just heavy. I thought you'd hate me, she murmured. I did, I said honestly, for a while. She looked down at her hands, eyes filling with tears. But, I continued, anger doesn't last forever, not when the story is this complicated. She looked up slowly, unsure of what I meant. I've been thinking a lot, I said, about the accident, about my mother, about you. Her breath caught. I realized something, I added. You were a child, 14. You didn't choose anything that happened that day. You were as helpless as I was. Her tears fell silently. You didn't hurt my mother, I said gently. You were just there. She covered her mouth with her hand, trying to contain her sobs. But you did hurt me, I continued quietly. Not by the accident, but by hiding the truth. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know, she whispered, and I'm so sorry. I took a slow breath. I'm not ready to forgive you, I said. Not yet, maybe not soon, but I'm also not ready to lose you. Her lips trembled, her eyes widened with disbelief. You're not, she whispered. No, I said softly, because despite everything you were there for me when no one else was. You were a part of my healing even while carrying your own pain. She cried harder, quietly, painfully, like someone finally releasing something held inside for years. I didn't reach for her hand. I wasn't there yet, but I didn't walk away either. I don't know what our relationship will look like from here, I admitted, but I'm willing to talk, to take small steps, one truth at a time. She nodded slowly, wiping her tears. I'll wait, she whispered, for as long as it takes. I'll give you whatever space you need, and I'll answer anything you want to ask. No more secrets. She looked at me with a fragile, hopeful expression. I don't expect forgiveness, she said softly, just a chance to do things right. For the first time since learning the truth, I felt something soften inside me. Not forgiveness, not closure, but possibility. We didn't fix everything that day. Pain doesn't fade in a single conversation. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. But something shifted. She told me more about that night, every detail she remembered. Her voice shook as she described the rain, the headlights, the sound of impact, her own screams. She confessed how the memory haunted her, how she avoided roads during storms, how she spent years wishing she had the courage to find me sooner. None of it erased the pain, none of it changed the past, but for the first time, it felt like we were standing in the truth together. The truth wasn't a weapon anymore. It was a bridge, a fragile one, but still a bridge. As we left the cafe, she stopped at the door. I know you're hurting, she whispered, and I know I can't fix that, but thank you for letting me tell you everything, for listening, for not walking away. I nodded, no promises, no decisions, just acknowledgement. We'll figure it out slowly, I said. She smiled, a small, weary smile, but it held more hope than anything I had seen on her face in weeks. Slow is okay, she whispered. Slow is more than I deserve. Then she walked away, leaving me standing there with a heart that no longer felt crushed, just bruised, healing, and unsure of the road ahead, but healing had finally begun. In the weeks that followed, life moved slowly, gently, carefully, like a glass cup placed back on a shelf after almost falling. Nothing dramatic happened, no sudden breakthroughs, no big emotional scenes, just quiet steps forward. Some days I felt okay. Some days the pain returned like a shadow. And some days I missed the version of Maya I thought I knew before her confession. But something important had changed inside me. I was no longer running from the truth. I was learning to sit with it. I didn't see Maya every day. I didn't talk to her often, but when we did talk, the conversations were honest in a way they had never been before. She never tried to defend herself. She never tried to rush my healing. She simply listened, answered, and stood quietly in the space I allowed her. There is a kind of healing that doesn't look like forgiveness. It looks like understanding. And slowly I began to understand things I couldn't see before. I understood that she was a child when the accident happened, too young to carry a truth so heavy. I understood that the guilt she held was not only for the accident but for standing beside me all these years without speaking. I understood that she didn't stay in my life out of manipulation. She stayed because she cared, deeply, genuinely, quietly. Understanding doesn't erase pain, but it softens it. One evening, a month after our conversation at the cafe, I found myself walking near the same park where she had told me the truth. The air was cool, the sky dim, and the world felt calm. I sat down on the same bench, the old wooden one beneath the tree. For a long moment, I just breathed. This was the place where my life had cracked open, where a truth hidden for 15 years had finally risen to the surface, where everything had changed. And yet, sitting there now, I felt something different. Peace, not full peace, not perfect peace, but a beginning. As I watched the leaves move with the breeze, I thought about my mother, her warmth, her laughter, her tenderness. Her life was bigger than the accident that ended it. She deserved to be remembered for more than that single moment, and I deserved to live without letting that moment define every relationship that came after. I closed my eyes. "Mom," I whispered into the quiet air, "I hope you can hear me. I hope you know I'm trying." A soft breeze brushed against my face, gentle and warm. Maybe it meant nothing, or maybe it meant everything. A few days later, Maya texted me, "I hope you're taking care of yourself." Just a simple message, no pressure, no expectations. Instead of the heaviness I used to feel when seeing her name on my screen, I felt something lighter. I replied, "I'm trying, hope you are too." Her response came quietly, "I am, thank you." We didn't talk about the past that day. We didn't talk about forgiveness or guilt or what comes next. Instead, we talked about simple things: work, the weather, her favorite tea, a movie she had watched. For the first time in a long time, the conversation felt normal, not perfect, not the same as before, but new. Sometimes healing isn't about going back to who you were. It's about becoming someone different, someone softer, wiser, and braver. Months passed. Our bond didn't return to what it once was, but it formed into something steadier, an honest, fragile friendship built on truth, not silence. She told me once, "I still wake up every day hoping you are okay." I told her, "I'm getting there," and that was enough. I didn't forgive her suddenly. Forgiveness isn't a moment, it's a journey. Some days I felt forgiveness growing, other days I felt the old pain return, but I stayed open to the possibility, and that was enough too. If there's one thing this journey taught me, it's this: life is not always fair, people are not always perfect, but hearts can heal if given time, honesty, and gentleness. The truth hurts, but silence hurts more. And sometimes the person who breaks your heart is also the person who helps you put the pieces back together. Slowly, humbly, quietly. I don't know what the future holds for me and Maya. I don't know if forgiveness will ever be complete, or if our paths will eventually drift apart, but I do know this: I am stronger than I thought. She is more human than I ever realized, and the truth we shared, painful as it was, helped us both grow. My mother's memory deserves peace, my life deserves light, and my heart deserves honesty. This story, my story, is not about blame. It's about learning to breathe again after the world shifts under your feet. It's about realizing that someone's worst mistake does not erase the good they brought into your life. It's about choosing healing over bitterness. And it's about understanding that the people we care about can hurt us deeply, yet still deserve a chance to be seen as more than their past. In the end, I didn't lose Maya. I lost a lie. I lost a silence. I lost a version of the truth that was never complete. But I gained something else, a deeper understanding of what it means to be human, and maybe that is enough.